Reviewer of Journal of Advanced Research in Electronics Engineering and Technology. Senior member, Scientific Board of Computer, Electrical and Electronic Engineers. Reviewer, International Association of Engineering and Technology Researcher. Technology. Researcher, Universal Researcher UAE. He is General Secretary of BJP, Joint Secretary Gurudwara Singh Sabha, Amravati, Director Amravati Cancer Foundation, President Manas Bahuuddeshiya Sanstha, Amravati. Sir, you have motivated all of us by being a live example of kindness and with your selfless service towards your students. You have given your best by sharing your expertise. I am really proud to introduce such a great personality. I kindly request you, sir, to brief us with your views on blend of science and technology for innovation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Okay. So good morning to one and all. It is rightly said that the only constant thing in this world is change. And there have been unprecedented advances in science and technology in the recent years, as all of you see. New inventions and innovations are being reported in quick succession, which are nothing but the result of fine blend of science and technology. The industry is becoming highly research oriented and competitive. Growth of knowledge based on science and technology is increasing at such a rapid rate that a professional has an uphill task keeping oneself up to date in the areas of one's specialization. Towards this end, global deliberations in international lecture series like this, of course, will assist the professional through dissemination of current knowledge and thereby enabling to contribute substantially towards the profession in particular and match the changing requirement of the society in general. So let us begin with our topic, that is blend of science and technology for innovation. Now the experience of successful developing countries has shown that technology and innovation through their blend, when well integrated into national development strategies and combined with institutional and organizational changes, can help raise productivity, improve firm competitiveness, support faster growth, and create jobs. For developing countries, it is necessary to increase the employability of their professional educated youths. It is very important that every country should think of their youth, and employability is the most preferred criteria for this. The evolution of science is like a boon to the world. As human beings come to know a lot about the world they are living in, including the activities they indulge into. Every day we will find that right from waking up in the morning till we go to the bed, we use science and technology. Furthermore, the development of technology along with the advancement in science helps to bring in a revolution in various fields, such as medicine, agriculture, education, information, and technology, and many such allied fields, as you can see. In the present world, if you think of any sort of development, then we will find that the presence of science and technology cannot be ignored. We cannot ignore the presence of science and technology in any walk of our life. Science and technology is the firm base of development in any sector. So let us understand the definition of science and technology and their relationship in present scenario. So what is science? Science is fundamentally a systematic study of structure and behavior of the natural and the physical world, and that study is based on our daily and regular observation and experiments. When we do something, when we act on something, of course we use the knowledge of science. The study of science evolved with the civilization of human beings. The humankind has witnessed the modernization due to the science and technology. Now let us go ahead and see what is technology. Now, technology, which is basically derived from the Greek word technologia, which can be defined as an art, as a skill, or we can define as an ability which is used to create and develop products through experience and to acquire knowledge therefrom. When we develop a product, of course, we acquire the knowledge from the product that we develop, and over the period or over with the experience that we have, we go on to develop it in a nicer way. The interesting fact is scientists use their knowledge to develop technology and then use technology to develop their science. See how wonderful this is. Scientists use their knowledge to develop technology and then use technology to develop science. So because of this reason, science and technology are integrated terms in today's world. They both go hand in hand. One cannot ignore the presence of them in all walks of life. I've told you, right from waking up in the morning to the time till we go to the bed, we use science and technology. Now let us move ahead and see what are the contribution of science to technology. So let us now understand how science has contributed to technology. The first point is science as a direct source of new technological ideas. What I feel is for any innovation derived from technology needs a strong scientific knowledge base. For example, innovation and development of medical instruments, maybe we can talk about nuclear technology or radar system, etc. We'll think of every new innovation is invented from technology and has a science behind it. The second point of contribution is science as a source of engineering. Now, most of the technical knowledge used in designing and development of the tools and techniques is actually an outcome of engineering science, such as applied physics, applied chemistry, maybe electrical engineering, or maybe the laws that we use for deriving anything. The third point that science has contributed to technology is in terms of development of human skills for ages. This is one of the fundamental contribution of science to technology. Because a technocrat, whenever he is developing any technology, needs to be skilled to innovate something. And that skill comes from the knowledge of science. Now let us move ahead and look forward to the reverse thing. How technology has contributed to the science. I have divided it into two parts. The first part is technology as a source of scientific challenges, and the second one is instrumentation and measurement techniques. Now consider the following points to understand the contribution of technology. Now technology is a source of scientific challenges. If I talk about this point, the development in the field of technology paves way for research and development in the field of science. For example, space science is one of them. We have seen that there are many advances now in space technology. If I consider India as a country who is leading now in space technology, we have set a record of launching 103 satellites simultaneously in one day. Now, technological development likewise indirectly stimulates the basic research in the field of science. Now, instrumentation and measurement techniques. This is the second point in which I can see the technology has contributed to science. Now, development of advanced instruments facilitated the scientists. For example, the modern equipments to measure the distance between the sun and earth, the intensity of sun rays, the revolution of celestial bodies, or we can say internal psychological problems of human beings that we measure or that we analyze on the basis of EEG that we take. Then life of a bridge, for a civil engineer, life of a bridge or a building is very important. So analyzing that needs technology, needs the advanced and the sophisticated equipments, which is nothing but which is the contribution of technology to the science. Now, you can see that all these instruments are derived only from the advanced technology that we have. Now let us move forward and see the blend of science and technology for innovation. In today's world, the role of science and technology is indispensable. We cannot ignore the effect of science and technology on our human life. We need science and technology in every sphere of our life, like to treat the disease or to treat the diseases like cancer, or even to book a cab or a train, or to pay the bills through maybe the online platforms, and to have deliberations like this through video conferencing that we are doing. In fact, without technology blended with science, we cannot imagine our life per se. We can't imagine the world without cell phones. The cell phone has shortened the world. We can connect to anybody in this world with one touch. So, of course, this is because of science and technology only. One of the most important aspects of science and technology is that it has solution to the difficult of difficult problems. Remember this. You bring any problem and science and technology, if blended together, will have the answer to that problem. The problems which have the potential to become the major bottlenecks to the overall growth and the sustainability of the country are being solved by the blend of science and technology. And these solutions give rise to what we call as innovations. Now consider the present situation. The innovations are required in the areas such as, let us say, health aspects, because we have considered, now we are consider, if we consider the pandemic COVID-19 and its devastating effect on humankind. Of course, the innovation is required in terms of health sector using science and technology. And of course, science and technology has helped us in detecting the COVID-19. So we have that thermal machines, we have the COVID testing kits. So it is nothing but it is derived from science and technology itself. Then standard and modernization of education, of course, required science and technology. The teaching learning process is changing, you know. This pandemic has transformed the way conventional teaching learning process was. The online platform, digitalization of every aspect like online forms, online banking, e-commerce has now got importance like anything. And the solution to everything is provided by science and technology. On the other hand, once mitigating innovations are found for these problems, then the second major issue is the underdevelopment in the field of science and research and technology that directly affects the development of country's economy, infrastructure, and higher education. Remember, all these technologies in turn provide favorable condition for the country's growth and increase healthy competition nationally and also internationally. In today's world, more often we get to read or listen that developed countries, developing countries, or that matter, underdeveloped countries, or even we can say third world countries, all designate the level of development of science and technology in other countries they have the influence on. The government has also created an exclusive department to emphasize on the development of science and technology. And a separate budget is also allocated. So you can see that every government who is looking for the development has given emphasis on the development of science and technology in their countries. Now let us go and see the nature of science and technology in developing and developed countries. Now let us now discuss the nature of science. There are normally two types of knowledge required for overall development of the country. The first is technical knowledge. It can be defined in the simplest term as know-how. It includes ranges of basic skills such as advancement in agriculture, development of chemical industries, medical technology, software engineering, educational system, e-commerce, and all these technologies work on know-how system. Understanding of the attributes is the second factor which is very important for development. That means that the knowledge and understanding of the intelligence of the worker, quality of products, value of a firm, effectiveness of the market, government policies, the way business policy is designed are the important attributes one should know if one is starting the use of science and technology. The uncompetitiveness of any of these attributes or elements will lead to the knowledge gap and information deficiency, which is directly related to the underdevelopment of the respective country in terms of innovation. Likewise, science and technology is directly related to the overall development of the country. We have seen that a country like Israel is very, very modern in terms of science and technology. As a matter of fact, science and technology facilitates healthy competition between the different attributes and elements and acts as a platform for a better life through new innovations. So, of course, the new innovations require the fine blend of science and technology. Now, therefore, it is in order to alleviate the basic problem of food and supply, maybe safe drinking water, maybe health problem, maybe education, infrastructure, the emphasis and gradual development of blending science and technology for innovation is essentially must. Now let us see science, technology and innovation in India. Over a period of time, India has progressively and perceptively paved way for development in the field of innovation using science and technology. Remember friends, the 21st century in India is apparently marked as the beginning towards an advancement in terms of technology and enrichment of the knowledge in the field of science and innovation. At present, India holds a strong position in terms of advanced technology. India also serves as knowledge warehouse with the existence of its many institutions like IITs, IIMs, the science institutions, or even the Ministry of Science and Technology. These are nothing but these are catering to the science and technology needs which come with qualified and trained manpower. Over the recent past, science and technology has made tremendous contribution to the innovation. After the independence, remember, it was not possible for India to depend on other countries for various aspects. Therefore, the development of indigenous technology was indispensable for the overall development of the country. And with no doubt, I can say that India has magnificently proved its leadership in innovation. Thankfully, today Indian technology and companies are as competent as in other developed countries. With the advent of Atmanirbhar project, I'm sure that in recent times or in the coming future, we'll see that many technologies or many startups will use the recent technological trends and develop their products. India is also a leader in various fields and is a tough competitor for all other so-called developed countries. Now let us see how they are interconnected to each other. Now this is the infographic shown on your screen. Now see this, the innovation integrates, here you can see, the innovation integrates technology with science. These connections are important. Though we people tend to think of science, technology and innovation as three separate things, but what I feel is they actually closely connected to each other. For example, scientists use the technology that engineers create. For example, microscopes, monitors, meters that we use to analyze, to conduct the research. And the technocrats, when they start to design a new innovation, they call on the knowledge of natural world developed by the scientists. For example, the law of gravity, or we can say fluid laws, or maybe law of conservation of energy, etc. Now, innovation, science and technology, they are connected to and they are influenced by each other. Innovation, science and technology also influence and are influenced by the society also. Our human values, needs, problems that we face on daily basis often determine what questions scientists investigate and what problems technocrats tackle. Meanwhile, the technologies that are the product of science and technology influence society and change human culture. You can just think of the impacts of cars and cell phones on us. We cannot think our life without cell phone and car nowadays. These gadgets have transformed our life like anything. Through a single touch, we can connect to the world. We have global acceptance through the internet and new technologies like Internet of Things, like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, like biomedical sciences, etc. The infographic shown here, you can see that how science, engineering, and technology connects to the society and how it is inevitable for innovation, for creating a new world that we want, full of advances. See, the world that we want to create is of full advances, techniques that will make our life better. And for that purpose, science and technology need to blend with each other, and therefore we can have a product which is called as innovation. Now remember one thing, the blend of science and technology shall take us a long way. For this, we need to stop stopping ourselves from critical thinking. Many a times, we stop thinking out of box. We stick to the laws, we stick to the protocols of design. Remember friends, innovation requires brainstorming and critical analysis of every aspect of the problem that we are dealing with. I will narrate a wonderful story I have recently came across. It's called a barometer story. It was by Alexander Calendra. He says, some time ago, he received a call from a colleague who asked if he would be a referee in one of the problems that he is facing with a student. A student has given an answer to a physics question in a way which is not using the knowledge of physics, while the student claimed that he should receive a perfect score because he has answered the question correctly. The teacher and the student agreed to have a common referee, which is Mr. Alexander, who will judge whether the student should be given a credit, full credit or not. Now, Mr. Alexander went to the teacher's office and read the examination question. The question was, show how it is possible to determine the height of a tall building with the aid of barometer. The student's answer was, that the answer that student wrote was, take a barometer to the top of the building, attach a long rope to it, lower the barometer to the street, and then bring it up, measure the length of the rope, and the length of the rope is nothing but it is the height of the building. Now see friends, this is very interesting answer, but should the student get credit for it? Mr. Alexander pointed out that the student really had a strong case of full credit. Why? Because he has answered the question completely and correctly. But on the other hand, if the full credit was given to the student, it would well contribute to the high grade for the student in the physics course, and which is indicative that his physics knowledge is quite nice, but his answer was not suggestive of that. So with this in mind, Mr. Alexander suggested that the student should be given another try to answer the question. Mr. Alexander was not surprised that the teacher agreed to this, but he was surprised when the student also agreed to this. And student said, I have many answers I can answer to this question. Acting in terms of the agreement, they gave the student 6 minutes and told him to answer the question. Now, at the end of 5 minutes, the student had not written anything on his answer book. He asked if he wished to give up, but the student said no. Student said, I have many answers to give. I'm just searching for the best one. Mr. Alexander excused himself for interrupting him and asked him to please go on. In the next minute, he dashed off the answer, which was, see how interestingly he has answered. So I will tell you, there are answers which are written on the PPT, but there are answers which he has given. I will narrate. Take the barometer to the top of the building and lean over the edge of the roof. Drop the barometer, then count the timing of its fall with a stopwatch. Then by using the formula, S is equal to half of 80 square, calculate the height of the building. Mr. Alexander was really impressed by this answer. The student continued, sir, there are many ways I can find the height of the tall building with the use of barometer. For example, you could take the barometer out on a sunny day and measure the height of the barometer, then the length of its shadow, then the length of the shadow of the building. And by using the simple proportion that we use in mathematics, we can determine the height of the building. There is a very basic measurement method that you will like, he says. In this method, you can take the barometer and begin to walk up the stairs. As you climb the stairs, you mark off the length of the barometer along the walls. When we climb, you can take the barometer and then mark the points and keep marking them when you climb up the stairs. Then you count the number of marks, and this will give you the height of building in barometer units. Of course, a very direct method he suggested. Of course, if you want a more sophisticated method, you can tie the barometer to the end of the pendulum and then swing it as a pendulum and determine the value of G at the street level and at the top of the building. Then from the difference of the two values of G, the height of the building can be determined using the principle of gravity. These are the many answers the student gave Mr. Alexander. Finally, he concluded, if you don't limit me to the physics or the sophisticated answers you are expecting from me, if you allow me to answer, there are many other answers also, such as taking the barometer to the basement and knocking on the superintendent's door. When the superintendent answers, you speak to him as, "Dear Mr. Superintendent, here I have a very fine barometer and it's costly too. If you will tell me the height of this building, I will give you this barometer." See the innovation of the student. He has many answers to a particular question. Now at this point, Mr. Alexander asked the student if he really didn't know the answer to the problem using physics. He admitted, "Yes, I did. But I was fed up with the college instructor trying to tell me, to teach me, or to think me, or to not to use critical thinking instead of showing him the structure of the subject matter and conceptual knowledge rather than a bookish knowledge." So he was fed up of all these points that usually a conventional science and technology does. Remember, friends, this story teaches us one thing, one fine thing that all of us as a researcher should know. This story teaches us that there are many solutions available for a problem. We need to apply our knowledge of science and technology to innovate. Every innovation requires the knowledge of science and technology. But sometimes we build walls around ourselves rather than building the bridges. So of course, these walls restrict ourselves to think out of box. But if we build bridges around us, they will take you to the newer technologies which will help us to innovate. So stop stopping yourself from exploring the new things in your life. Maybe there are things in life, there are things in science and technology, in profession. So in personal life and professional life, stop stopping yourself from doing innovative things. The more you will explore, the more you will innovate. So this was a small presentation from my side. I hope I was able to give justice to the topic that was given to me. I am thankful to Professor Vijaya Sangavar ma'am for this opportunity to interact with all of you. I congratulate the organizers for this successful lecture series, and I sincerely hope that the participants will get a new globalized perspective through this lecture series. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Raj Belekar sir for question answer session. Belekar sir, please.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Khalsa sir.
Yes.
My first question is the engineering students heavy package work. So what are the main challenge you anticipate as a graduate engineer for the research engineering field?
Actually, sir, the main problem with the current students, as you rightly pointed out, they want a higher package, and that's why they want to go to the software industry rather than going to the core industry. Because unfortunately, the core industry is not paying so much of package to the students. So this is the main challenge, because the perspective of the student is to go for software industry rather than going for some innovation or the research and development sector, which is there, which is present there in the core sector. So because of the less payment, usually the students are not that interested in going to the core areas and research. So that is the main bottleneck for graduates in engineering.
Thank you, sir. A future of the fresh graduate who have not placed in any company due to this COVID pandemic.
Sir, yes, this is a very interesting question, because I am handling training and placement. I can answer you. Sir, this COVID has given us new opportunities. If I think in a positive way, this COVID has given us the new opportunities. Now, what is the main thing? The main thing is that students need to change themselves in a different role. Now, the role of the students will be different now. It will not be a conventional job kind of thing. You can see that there are certain online platforms which are available now, which are developed because of this COVID situation. See, this kind of video conferencing was not that frequent, but now we are using it. So these kind of platforms, which will be definitely motivated. The design of these kind of platforms will be there. I can tell you one example. In this COVID situation itself, we have placed our 18 students in Byju's with a package of 10 lakh rupees. So the companies like Byju's and other learning platforms will definitely gain momentum because of this COVID situation. So of course, students need to change themselves. As I have started with the point that the only constant thing in this world is change. So of course, we need to change ourselves to adapt to the changing world or the changing needs of the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Khalsa, sir. Now,
Thank you, sir.
control is handed over to Dr. Deshpande, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Khalsa, sir, for your valuable guidance. Sir, we are very much thankful to you. The common facts